Good day and welcome to another edition of the Military and Foreign Affairs Network. I am your host, the voice of reason. In today's ongoing coverage of the civil war taking place inside of the former state of Ethiopia, the fighting obviously continues. We are receiving additional reports as of today and continued to receive a variety of reports about the ongoing civil war that is taking place inside of the former state of Ethiopia. So let's look at all the areas in which we are continuing to have a deep analysis of what is exactly occurring inside of the area of the combat zone taking place currently. So first and foremost, the fighting continues in southern Tigray, the southern Tigray region. Right now, in terms of actual fighting, most of that fighting is now taking place across the border on the Amharan side of the border. We continue to see the Tigrayan Defense Forces cross over in the direction of Sokoto from really two different areas as they continue to launch these envelop and destroy operations. So on the surface, especially in the operations that are happening both north and southeast of Sokoto, especially within the areas of areas such as this here of Balinta and Zumbo and Eridre. These areas, we're seeing some fairly significant activity of the Tigrayan Defense Forces. We're seeing some fairly large-scale operations. Now, with that being said, this does not appear to be, at least on the surface, a operation to seize control of vast areas of territory. So the current operation that is taking place both north and south of Sokoto and in the direction of Sokoto, at this time, we can't say if this is an operation designed to take and secure territory, but more looks like another envelop and destroy operation by the Tigrayan Defense Forces. So again, as we observed in the past with this conflict, the Tigrayan Defense Forces operate in a manner that seeks to destroy the Abiy loyalist formations at times, rather than actually seizing control of vast areas of land. Now, obviously, when you see these larger formations enveloped and then destroyed by the Tigrayan Defense Forces, there then comes a chance to take and hold territory. But the ultimate objective right now, especially in the areas north of Sokoto and south of Balinta and other areas in southwestern Tigray region, the southeastern Tigray region, right now appears to be envelop and destroy missions in which they are, in some cases, maneuvering fairly large amounts of forces, in terms of forces numbering in the thousands of Tigrayan Defense Force fighters, especially in this area here where my cursor is circling. But again, we're seeing an uptick in large-scale movements of the TDF, in which we can confirm that several Abiy loyalist and Amhara regional militia formations, again, have been enveloped and are in the process of being destroyed by the Tigrayan Defense Forces. And again, that same strategy that was employed in the Tembian region, which eventually led to the complete liberation of the Tigray region by the Tigrayan Defense Forces, and we observed the complete destruction and then the full-on retreat of the Abiy loyalists from the Tigray region. We're starting to see that same strategy of envelop and destroy with a target of taking on and destroying specific units of Amhara Regional Defense Forces and the Abiy loyalist formations that are operating in the area of operations near southern Tigray, southeastern Tigray, north of Sokoto, and south of Sokoto. But again, a fairly large operation currently underway by the Tigrayan Defense Forces. And again, that operation appears to be another envelop and destroy mission to isolate and then surround and destroy large units or mid-sized units, battalion, company sized formations of the Amhara regional militias and the Abiy loyalist formations within this area. So again, we're going to keep an eye on this activity. It continues. It is a uptick in operations in terms of the total manpower being used, whereas we were seeing operations in the hundreds in this area at times. We're now seeing the deployment of several thousand members of the Tigrayan Defense Forces that have crossed over the border into the northern Amhara region north of Sokoto to conduct envelop and destroy operations against the Abiy loyalist formations in this area. In other activity, we continue to see infiltration units of the Tigrayan Defense Forces crossing over the Tikizi River. Remember, the demarcation line in terms of the area that the Tigrayan Defense Forces control roughly runs along where my cursor is running along the Tikizi River. Now, obviously, the TDF have made inroads to the west of the Tikizi River, especially in the southern portion of the Tikizi River, more towards the Amharan border. But again, we're continuing to see these infiltration groups entering western Tigray and conducting operations against the mainly Amhara paramilitary forces that are operating in western Tigray. Again, this area was part of the Tigray region prior to the invasion by the Abiy regime in tandem with the Isaias Afwerki despotic regime from Eritrea. But again, right now, in terms of forces deployed in western Tigray, again, that is mainly forces of the Eritrean army and heavy amounts of Amhara paramilitary forces that are operating in the western Tigray region. We're not seeing so much of the Ethiopian federal forces or the Abiy loyalist forces that are operating in western Tigray, be it they're still there. The vast majority of the forces fighting in western Tigray on the side of the Abiy loyalists, again, are Amhara regional militias and Eritrean army forces. But again, we're continuing to see these smaller scale units, these company-sized units, crossing over into from the Tikizi River and conducting operations inside of western Tigray. We also continue to see a buildup and continued activity of the Tigrayan Defense Forces on the Sudanese side of the border, and we could anticipate ongoing activity and a possible uptick in Tigrayan Defense Force activity on the Sudanese side of the border, and eventually these operations, in which are mainly being undertaken by smaller units, could become a much larger operation, quite possibly in the near future. So we're keeping an eye on this very closely. Again, the Eritrean army is really headquartered in Himora and continues to maintain control over that city. For all intents and purposes, the Eritrean army has annexed Himora. Again, the largest force concentrations of the Eritrean army obviously are that of those forces in and around Himora, while we're seeing the Fano militias and the Amhara regional militias continue to operate in the western Tigray region as well. But again, we suspect that there will be ongoing operations by the Tigrayan Defense Forces fairly soon in the western Tigray region. But again, the big issue right now is, in terms of some of the heaviest fighting right now, is going on north of Sokoto in this area right now. At the same time, and I've talked about this in the past, the buildup of the Amharan army. So again, I have talked about we will soon see this split, and we are seeing this split where you have the Abiy loyalist formations, also known as the Ethiopian National Defense Forces, but on the other side of the coin, allied, and sometimes allied, but not always allied, are the forces of the Amhara regional militia units. And again, we're seeing this force become more and more somewhat independent from the Ethiopian National Defense Forces, from the Abiy loyalist forces based in Addis Ababa, also known as Fin-Finay. But again, this force, in terms of the Fano Amhara Regional Militia Force, continues to grow, continues to get larger and larger, and could soon actually rival the manpower that is currently in the Ethiopian National Defense Forces. So again, a very large formation in terms of a military force. These Amhara regional militias that are now operating throughout the former state of Ethiopia, and you can see even these Amhara regional militias operating inside the Oromia region and other places as well. So again, Amhara region, fairly large area of the former state of Ethiopia. Amhara has roughly 20 million people living inside of that region, and again, their buildup of their own semi-autonomous armed formations continue, and we continue to see those formations acting at times separately from the Ethiopian National Defense Forces, and in times we've even seen these forces clash. We have seen Amhara regional militia units clash with Eritrean forces, and we have seen Amhara regional militia forces clash with the Abiy loyalist formations of the Federal Army as well. And obviously all three of those formations are fighting both the Tigrayan Defense Forces and the Oromo Liberation Army, which is still very much active in the Oromia region of the former state of Ethiopia. And we will continue to see that force, meaning the Oromo Liberation Army, continue to grow and continue to conduct military operations inside of Oromia. But again, that is the current state of affairs. We're watching very closely both, again, the operation that is taking place north of Sokoto, in conjunction with allied forces of the Tigrayan Defense Forces. But again, the operation north of Sokoto numbers several thousand Tigrayan Defense Force personnel. That operation continues. We are continuing to see that envelop and destroy methodology in the Tigrayan Defense Forces, in its deployment strategy inside of the Amhara region. Again, I know I've said this before, it does not appear to be, at least on the surface, a territorial grab operation. This operation is designed to envelop and destroy combat units of the Abiy loyalist and the Amhara regional militia units that are operating in these areas. And that strategy, again, as I just talked about, was very successful in the Tigray region, and I think we're seeing an extension of that strategy now being utilized in the Amhara region in terms of these major cross-border operations, meaning the Tigray-Amharan border, where you're seeing several thousand Tigrayan Defense Forces cross over, envelop, and destroy forces of the Abiy loyalist and the Amhara regional militias. And again, this is going to continue to apply a strain on the Ethiopian, the Abiy economy, which continues to collapse and constrict. We continue to see hyperinflation, and as you would with any nation state or former nation state that is now embroiled in a vicious sectarian, ethnic, ethno-ethnic civil war that is taking place inside of the former state of Ethiopia. But again, we will continue to cover, and more content for your consumption will be coming very, very soon. We are watching couple of different events right now that we have not yet talked about, but we will be covering that very, very soon. Have a good day, everybody. And just on a side note, I will be returning back to my home base per se, and the video content, we should see a uptick in videos being produced by MFan and myself, and we will have that for you very, very soon. Again, I will be on a flight most of the day, and returning back to my home base, and hope to talk to everyone very, very soon. Have a good day, everybody.